Okay guys, we're going to get a little bit casual today. I have had so many requests for me to do a Q&A. So here we go. Jotted down, I put it out on Twitter and I put it out on Facebook for people to ask me any questions they felt the need to ask. So let's get started, shall we? I said that people could ask me anything they wanted, and that included things about writing, spiritualism, paganism, myself. Nothing, unless it was extremely personal, was off limits. So we've kind of got a bit of an eclectic mix today. It's not going to be particularly writing or anything like that, but I do have a bit of mix. I've got them all on my, can't find here, all on my phone here, and I'm just going to read off there. And this isn't going to be perfect. I'm probably going to stumble. I'm probably going to swear. I'm probably going to throw up a few little now and then. But, you know, like I said, we're being casual today. And I'm talking to you as I would friends. So I'm not going to censor myself. I'm not going to edit myself. I'm really not going to give a shit. We cool? We're cool. So, yes, this is a good indication. I love Harry Potter. I solemnly swear I am up to no good. But I promise you this video, I'm really not being a naughty girl in this one, I promise. Okay. Gemma on Facebook has asked me, how long did it take you to learn tarot? I don't think you ever finish learning. So in that respect, it's taken me 25 years, which is how long I've been practicing paganism. I think the hardest thing for me when it came to tarot was trusting my instincts. Because when I do a tarot read, I don't just trot out the generic meanings that are written in the little booklet and the cards. I don't do that. Because to me, maybe because I work as a medium as well, I tend to channel the person I'm reading for's spirit relations and their friends and family that were passed over and any spirits that are around, as well as like their spirit guides and things like that, to give them the best advice and the best reading that I possibly can. So I don't stick with just the generic. I will always trust my instincts, and I will always go with whatever is the first thing that pops into my head. That's the key there. Go with the first thing that pops into your head, because it's there for a reason. I think one of the other hard parts for me was trying to get my head around the fact that I wasn't making it up. It wasn't my imagination that was giving me the things to say. It was the spirit world putting it into my head, ready to tell them. I always use, I've got a brain like a rusty sieve with extra holes, okay? My brain is useless. And because of that, I find it very, very hard to remember facts and figures and names and all sorts of things like that. I've got so much up here, especially with my writing world up there. I've got so much going on that I cannot possibly fit anything else in. So I didn't even attempt to remember 78 meanings for cards, because like 78 tarot, there's 22 major arcana and the rest are all minor arcana, and depending on whether you use the reverse meaning for it, you know, 78 of just one meaning, double that if you want reversed as well. I can't remember all of that. I'm going to get so confused, it just doesn't happen. So my preferred cards to use are cards that have got meanings written on them. Now it might seem like a cop-out, it might seem like a cheap way of doing it. Not all of my cards are like that, I hasten to admit. Just the admit, I meant add there, didn't I? That shows a really good writer. I've got a great grasp of wording there. I use my cards that have got things written on them, the meanings and sort of generic meanings written on them, when I am doing readings for strangers or people that I don't know very well, like from the pub or I'm at an event or something like that. I will use those, because that way they get a little bit of trust going, because they can see that you're not making it up. This is exactly what the cards are telling you. They can read it themselves and see that that is exactly what you are saying. So they kind of feel like, oh, well, if it's right there, they're not bullshitting me. But I like I said, I very rarely actually use the technical definition of it and the explanation that comes with it. I use my intuition all the time. I will go with the picture on the card for the first thing that pops into my mind, the first thing I associate with that picture. I will expand on the generic meaning. I will ask Spirit World to give me some guidance for it, and I will do a reading pretty much based purely on intuition, not the generic meaning of it. And I feel like, especially in paganism and things like that, you are learning every single day. You never stop learning. Every single time you do a reading, you're going to be learning something new. So how long did it take me to learn? I haven't stopped. I had a question from Mark on Facebook, and he said, when did you start writing those incredible books? Oh, that's a question, isn't it? I've always written. I think I'm just checking to see if there's any other questions here. I think I could probably throw in another question here, which Farley Productions on Twitter asked me, what inspired you to become a writer and content creator? And I think I could probably answer both questions together there. When did I start writing them and what inspired me? I've always written. When I was younger, my nan and granddad, as some of you that have read my books will see in the dedications, because I always dedicated to my nan and granddad, they were absolutely amazing. They were the most encouraging people in the world, and they still are. Even though they've been gone nearly 15 years, they are still amazingly supportive for me. They come through at spiritual churches and meetings all the time, telling me that they're proud of me and that they like what I'm doing and keep going, and they like the book. They are very, very supportive grandparents. I started writing when I was tiny. I remember writing little stories and books like that with my nan. I remember Nan and Granddad used to give me like old notebooks and things like that, and I would fill them with stories. I once did a very weird fan fiction series when I was younger, when I was really tiny, of the animals of Farthing Wood and a fairy, you know, because I kind of obviously like the mythology of side of things then. When I had my daughter, because I had my daughter when I was 17, and she is 17 now as well, she's fantastic. I've done a very good job with her, even if I do say so myself. When she was younger, I didn't really have time to write or do anything like that, or have any time for me even, but I was still always sort of telling stories. I would tell little stories to her when I was getting her ready, when I was doing things for her. I'd make up stories on the spot. And I've always been a storyteller in the fact that even if I was just telling someone something that happened in my day, it would come out with little embellishments or little fun little facts, and I would make it entertaining. I've always been a storyteller. But it wasn't until about 2009 that I started to seriously think that it might be something that I actually had real skills in, real talent for. It took me a long time to believe that I actually might possibly have a talent for something. Because I always said I wish I had a talent, and apparently this is my talent, so I'm quite happy about this. Yeah, in about 2009, 2010-ish, I was on Facebook. It was when Facebook sort of first started out. It'd only been open like a couple of years, like for the mainstream public. And those were the days when you could have any name that you wanted on there. And I had my pagan name on there, which is Willow Dragoncat, which is why my book publishing company is Dragoncat Press. I had that on there, and I was my usual gothy self, and my profile information basically said witch, cat mum, medium, the usual things that I have on there. And I was bored one weekend when my husband was away at a rally, and I started looking at some of my favourite authors that I liked, that I read. And I was on Facebook looking up some of their pages and looking at some of the stuff they were doing, and I was looking in the comments section. I was like, why are their characters commenting? Now, in my naivety, I believed that it was the authors had made up like maybe accounts for their characters and were commenting and making little fun bits of way of promoting. So I added the characters. I sent them a friend request and I started chatting to them. How wrong was I? Turns out they were actually role players. They were people role playing as the characters, writing on Facebook. And overnight, I became massively popular, and I don't know how it happened. I literally went to sleep with like 4 or 5 friends on there that were role playing accounts that I found, and I woke up in the morning to almost 100 friend requests overnight. People assumed, where it was witch and gothic and with a witchy kind of name, that I was a role player, that I was a character. They didn't realise I was a real person. But me being me, I kind of went, well, you know what? Let's go for it. Let's see how we go. And kick the camera there, within 2 weeks, that was my knee, I'm just sort of getting cosy on my sofa. Within 2 weeks, I had a bunch of friends, one of them being my darling Mist, who is still my best friend to this day. I absolutely adore her. She is my writing soulmate. We have plans for more collaborations together and things like that, and I absolutely adore that girl. I couldn't be without her. I met her when I first started, and I had a writing partner, which was a lovely lady, that's my phone, lovely lady from Canada who I was writing with, who was writing as a character from my favourite book series, which is the Dark Hunter books. So yeah, I got into that, and I realised that what started out as a bit of a joke and a bit of a let's give it a go and have a bit of fun, because I was bored, actually turned out to be something that I was pretty good at. And I found that that's the work group on my phone, they're all chatting on there. I found out that I had a superpower, and my superpower is the ability to make any plot and any idea work. I can make anything work. I can find the loopholes in a story and I can fix them, and I can turn any idea into a workable plot. It's a superpower. I don't know how I do it, I just do. I'm quite logical like that. It's my puffer. My writing tutor used to say, well, if you've got any problems, ask Wills, she'll figure it out. It's just what I do. And yeah, I ended up doing that. I wanted to start writing. Yeah, that's tattoo on my wrist, by the way. I wanted to start writing for myself that wasn't roleplay. But I did love roleplay. So I actually, to see if I could do it, see if I could actually write something big, I actually wrote apart from the Little Tiny Animals of Farther stories, I wrote my first fan fiction. And I completely rewrote one of the True Blood books because I thought I could do it better. Well, not do it better, but I preferred my way. I didn't like the fact that witches were portrayed as the bad guys, and I was like, what if they actually had a good witch there though? What if they actually had a witch on their side? And that was where Tansy was actually born. Tansy was created in that one. She hasn't obviously stayed there. She has worked her way into my novels and become part of a trio of sisters, and her book is out in September. So yeah, she's pretty special. I do love my Tansy. She was the first character I developed, apart from my roleplay character. Now my roleplay character is quite interesting. I love her still. I absolutely adore her, and I kept going back over the years. Had a lot of crap on there with a lot of people that I'm not going to go into now because it just takes forever. But needless to say, I got to the point where I didn't trust anyone, and I didn't trust anyone to work with or anyone to write with anymore. I found that any time I was writing anything, I was pretty much giving up my writing to never be seen again, never to be used again, because I was working with idiots. So after a lot of consideration and a lot of pressure from the fan base of Willow the Witch on Facebook, I did decide that I was going to revamp her a little bit and bring her into my novel world. And I've recently started a series, like an episodic series of stories for her, and I'm bringing out all the new roleplay stuff that I did, bringing in a few new characters. I've rejangled her a little bit, and her boyfriend in it, her soulmate, I have completely created from scratch. He's very much like her original boyfriend Jaden, but now he's got his own history and he's got his own backstory, and I've mixed up, I've gone searching in ancient Babylonian and Mesopotamian mythology and found some fantastic bits of where he's going to come from and what he's all about. So stick around because it's going to get hairy. I think that answers those two questions. Let's see. So I'm just going to delete the questions as I go so I actually know where I'm going with it. Another question that I was asked is, how do you name your books? Now, anyone that knows me will know that I love my rock and metal music. All of my books are actually song titles. They are named after songs that I felt really represented the story. So 2 Minutes to Midnight is by Iron Maiden, Only Women Bleed is by Alice Cooper, See You on the Other Side is an Ozzy Osbourne song, and Not Strong Enough is by a band called Apocalyptica. I've got a couple of other ones coming up, but I'm not going to tell you what they are because I love to do title and cover reveals. So, where do you get your inspiration from your books? My inspiration for my books is basically, I love a good romance, so that's always a good thing. Ideas and stories just pop up straight in my head, as do characters, but most of it comes from my working knowledge as a pagan. Most of that is down to my knowledge of mythology, local mythology, including things like, I don't know, Herne the Hunter, and all the sort of local myths and local legends and things like that. Different things like the fays and stuff like that. All my fae and fairy generally come from the Celtic mythology. My vampires and stuff like that are Norse mythology, kind of mixed in with a little bit of my own way of doing it. Same as with my shifters. So I use my knowledge of supernatural beings, of the paranormal world, of mythology and things like that to really make my world a little bit different to other people's, but also easy to get lost in. I do love my world. It's fun. It's fun to create, and I like to put, when I have like witches and things like that in my books, I love to use proper pagan things in them. So things is just such a crap way of putting it, but I am on the spot here and I haven't had time to write a script, so I'm just kind of winging it. So my language choice is probably not going to be as good as they normally are. Yeah. What advice would you give to a thriller writer? And that was said it on Twitter. What advice would I give a thriller writer? Oh, I don't really know because I don't write thrillers. I would probably think about this one. My advice to thriller writers would be never go with the obvious, I suppose. I did do a couple of videos on how to put a little twist in the tale and how to write a plot twist. But a lot of people seem to think that if you want to be a thriller writer or something, you have to have kind of a plot twist in it. I don't think you always need a plot twist. I don't always feel like you need a plot twist. For me, when I was in writing class and we were learning about thriller writing and things like that, we pretty much still had 7 basic steps as you would with any novel. One of the first things that's important with thriller writing is to really flesh out your characters and their motivation, because characters in thrillers are usually really, really complex, and you've really got to you normally find that a lot of their motivation is in their backstory and things like that, so you can't really leave characters as kind of a basic. You've really got to flesh them out, and you've really got to put a lot of time and really get to know your characters with it. Start with action. every time, start with action. Just dive straight into the story. No flapping around the edges of it. No dipping a tentative toe in. Dive into action. Start with someone being dead on the floor. Start with someone being kidnapped. Start with, if you want to do sort of like a chiller thriller type with a supernatural twist, start with someone dying and a ghost turning up. Start with a ghost throwing something across the room. Start with action. Show what's at stake. That is always really, really important. Make sure that we as readers really, really feel what the characters are feeling. So if the characters are desperate for something and they are desperate for a resolution to it, or they've got a problem and they, like, I don't know, if they, I'm trying to think, Amityville or something, for example, okay, their motivation was that they needed a family home, and they got a really cheap home, but because of the fact that they got rid of their house, they got their house now and they have to live there, their motivation and what's at stake is losing their family home, losing the family, having nowhere to live, and needing to deal with this ghost that's trying to kill them. That's the motivation. So you've really got to feel for the characters. You've got to really feel that their motivation and what is at stake is going to affect them badly. You've got to make it difficult for your protagonist. You've really got to make it difficult. You've got to, it's got to be such a bumpy roller coaster ride. Plain sailing is not for thrillers. Twists, plot twists, twists and turns are a great thing in a thriller, but as I said, it doesn't always have to have a plot twist. Sometimes leading people to think that there's a plot twist and making it at the beginning really, really obvious of who you think the bad guy is going to be, and make the readers think they know who the bad guy is going to be, but the rest of the way through it, twist it so they're thinking it's definitely not them. It's definitely not them. Lead them to think it's somebody else, and then bam, it's the first person again. Great way of doing it. Really build up to the climax. Really, really, really build up to your ending. And to your peak of your action. Don't just sort of dive straight into the action straight away. We really need good build up for it. We really, really, really need to feel every single second of that. And as with any story, make sure you've got a satisfying ending. We love a satisfying ending, even if it's a thriller or anything like that. Got to be a satisfying ending. The thing is, I don't really read thrillers a huge amount. I read quite a few of them when I was younger, and I read a lot for writing class, and I had a lot of thriller writers in writing class, so I've got a bit of experience in it, but I don't really do a lot about them, so I'm afraid I can't tell you a huge amount about it. If it was a romance thriller, I could probably help a little bit more. I think my majority of my advice for any writer, not just a thriller writer, would be to make sure that you plot your story out really well and that you really know where you're going, because I especially think with thriller books, that's where any inconsistencies in your plot, or a weak plot or a weak storyline, is really, really, really going to have a negative impact, a negative thing with your novel. It's really going to negatively impact it, so really make sure your plot is strong. Why are certain words capitalised in your novels? That is a quite interesting question, actually. I'm trying to think how to explain it. It's actually a question that most people don't ask me very often. Most people just accept that that's how it is, because that's how you've written it. I capitalised words like vampire, witch, shifter, soulmate, council, donor, that sort of thing, donor's guild, all sorts of things, because that's their designation. It's kind of the same as a name. Okay, so you would capitalise a name, so therefore I've capitalised them. Now, I know a lot of people don't. I've done it because I wanted to show the difference between the mundane version of a being and the real ones in my world. Same as you would sit there and say, oh, yeah, she's a witch. And they're like, yeah, okay. But no, she's a witch. Or you would say, yeah, he's a vampire. They're like, yeah, okay. No, I mean he's a vampire. It's that emphasis, that vampire. So you could say, if you was with my ones, they got sort of vampire clubs and things like that, and someone could be like, oh yeah, he's a vampire, and it just sounds very, very minimal and very sort of meh. But when they go, he's a vampire, you really know that he is the real deal. And my beings know that there are a lot of people that are witches without being witches. If it's difficult to explain. You've got, in my world, all witches, my witches are born witches. They are born with a special gift, a talent, if you will. Every witch has an individual talent. Every witch that is a born witch has a little bit of real magical power. Not all of my witches are pagans or Wiccans or anything like that. Not all of them have a religion. They are all witches because they've got the powers. Then you've got the mundane or the human side, where you've got witches that are pagans and Wiccans and things like that, that are witches in the mundane sense. So I've got witches and witches. That's the difference. That's why something's capitalised. Same as you've got like the council, which could be the housing association or the council, the town council or something like that, and you've got the council, which is the immortal council, the governing body of all of my beings and all of my hidden world. So the council is emphasised, therefore it's capitalised. When did you start writing? Again, that is, I think I probably already covered that at the beginning. I started writing when I was very, very young, and then I started writing properly about 2009, so about 10 years ago. And after I'd written my first fanfiction and figured that out and done a lot of my roleplay writing, I started writing my first novel probably around 2011, 2012. And it came out the first one came out in 2016, and I actually turned down a couple of writing contracts, publishing contracts for that, because I wanted to self-publish. So that's why I went with that. How long does it usually take you to write a novel? Scott Dunn on Twitter asked me that one. How long does it usually take me to write a novel? It normally takes me around about 6 months to write a novel. That doesn't include the plotting stages and the editing stages and all the rest of it. The actual writing of it can be shorter. It has been shortened sometimes. It's been slightly longer, but average around about 6 months. That's because I have a very, very busy life and not a lot of time to write, and I fit as much in as I possibly can. That also includes the fact that I'm writing short stories. I am doing my website. I'm writing my YouTube scripts. I'm doing the YouTube videos. I help run a local spiritualist church. I attend a mediumship development circle once a week. I work part-time as well, and I am a carer to my husband. So I'm a wife and mum. I'm very, very busy. Very busy. I always plot first, as I've done plotting videos before. I always plot a lot, and so I always know where I'm going when it actually comes to the writing side of it, so I can just blat straight through. I always write as one continuous stream of consciousness and never edit until I've actually finished the whole writing thing myself. So you're probably about 6 months. The actual plotting itself can take up to a week, maybe longer. I have a notebook per book that I write, and I plot out everything. Again, it's all in my plotting videos. So yeah, plotting probably takes about a week or so for me, and then I'll have the plots. Sometimes some of them I've had sitting in my drawer for 3 or 4 years until I've actually got around to writing the story. The story itself will have to be in the right time frame and within the timeline of my novels, so I might have an idea for it, but it won't fit in until I've written some more. So probably around about 6 months from starting it. I normally go for at least 75,000 words. Most of my novels top out at about 100,000 words. So anywhere between 80 and 100,000 words is my novel, what I aim for. That's the writing limit that I aim for. How do you fit writing into your busy schedule? You have to. You just have to. There's no option for it. I try and make things as easy as possible on myself, which is, like I said, having a plot and setting aside time to write. Sometimes I have to put headphones on and just ignore everybody else in the house. Other times I have to go upstairs to write. Sometimes I might even take my laptop outside with me and go in the garden, or I'll go to a coffee shop or something like that. If something is important to you, you will make time for it. With anything in life, you will make time for it. And for me, I have to make time for writing. I have to make my schedule fit around my writing sometimes as well. That includes having to say to people, no, I can't come out today. I am not, like my mum especially, no, I'm not popping over this weekend. No, I'm not coming to a barbecue, mum, I'm writing. No, I'm writing, I've got to fit this novel finished. Yeah, all of my weekends is taken out if I haven't cleaned the house and done the usual bits and pieces, which doesn't happen that often, I must admit, because I'm generally busy. Any spare bit of time I have, I will be writing. That means that, because people go, oh, I haven't got any time, I haven't got any spare time, yet they'll sit and watch 4 hours of Netflix at a night. Only watch 3 hours, write for an hour. Watch 2 hours, write for 2 hours. You know, you make time. You have to sacrifice other things to make time for your writing. That might include going out with friends. It might include reading. Sometimes I won't read anything for a month or so because I'm too busy writing. You got to do what's important, and if your writing is important to you, you will make the time. I was asked by Desiree on Facebook, any advice for someone getting back into paganism, like sigils, tarot, recharging under moon, that sort of thing. Well, I've never got back into paganism, I've never got out of it, but as a general for people, my advice is to do what works for you. I know it sounds so cliched, and I'm really sorry, you're probably expecting a lot better than that, but that's the truth. Read as much of any paganism and Wicca books and witchcraft books that you can find. The best part about paganism is the fact that you can pick and choose the bits that work for you, and you can make it into a working cohesive religion for you and a working belief system for you. So broaden your horizons, read as much as you possibly can, get as much inspiration as you can, and pick the bits that are working for you. Tarot, etc. would probably be the first question that was asked on here, which is how long have you been learning tarot, how long did it take you to learn it? You never finish learning. So sigils, yeah, they're handy. They are very, very handy. I can actually do a video on how to create sigils if anybody wants that. Sigils are good because they are good for focusing your energy and focusing your belief and for your manifestation. I was talking to my husband about this the other day. Sigils are almost like a lucky charm. You know, when you was younger and you had that little troll doll that you would always take with you to all of your exams or your tests or whatever because he was your lucky charm. Sigils are like that. They are your lucky charm. They are the thing that gives you comfort, and it's a belief. You are putting the energy into them. So a sigil is just, can be anything. It doesn't have to be particularly magical. It doesn't even have to look magical. It could just be a smiley face, and that is telling you to smile more and be more positive and try and embrace happiness. So sigils are really, really good if you are someone that needs a visual encouragement. Like some people will put a mantra, write a mantra on the wall, or write it on a bit of paper and keep it in their purse or whatever. If you're one of these people that's more visual than wordy, yeah, go for sigils. Brilliant. Recharging under the moon. I do charge a lot of stuff under the moon as well as recharging. I'm not sure what you mean by recharging under the moon. Did you mean you recharging as in recharging your energy, or the energy of crystals or items? Either way, same diff. If you items and things like that, cleanse them first. I'd cleanse them by running them under a tap, and then as long as they're crystals that can actually get wet and items that can get wet, always check that first. I like to cleanse with all 4 elements. So I'll put it barely through a candle flame. I will run it under water. I will either bury it in the dirt or bury it in salt for a little bit, and I will pass it through the flame of some incense as well. And then I would put it all on the windowsill and let it soak up all of the moon rays. You could also do it, we can go outside, and if you, whatever god or goddess you associate with moon, be it Greek, just saying Mother Goddess or Greek, Norse, Roman, whatever you associate with, call them down, ask them to put energy into your items and to recharge them. If you want to recharge yourself, exactly the same thing. I would suggest you have a cleansing bath and or shower, and visualize all of your dirt and stress and troubles washing away down the drain with you. Go outside under the full moon, put your hands up, talk to deity, always talk to them. Really build up a relationship with deity. Really build up a relationship with them so you can chat to them and talk to them, so you feel you can come to them when you need them, and they will step forward. Believe me, they will step forward. I've had that enough times to know they always step forward. I'm looking sideways because I'm looking out into my garden, which is where I do my work. That's why I'm looking sideways. Weird. Ignore that. It's like I'm looking for inspiration by looking out into the garden. Hands up to the moon. Really embrace it. Feel the energy coming down and ask them to empower you, ask them to cleanse you, ask them to charge you, and ask them to bless you. A lot of it is asking, a lot of it is intention. You know that you can always message me and ask any particular questions about that and any actual advice that you want that's a little bit more specific. I can't get majorly into this because this video is getting long enough as it is, I'm afraid. I was asked by Ian on Facebook, how is spirit communication even possible? I did do a video on how spirit communication works and things like that, but all I can tell you is how I have it and how it works for me. I believe, and every medium that I know believes the same in this, that when we die, we do not just vanish. Energy doesn't vanish. We do not just go. Our body is, or as I know that some people from my circle will laugh if I call it the meat suit. They always laugh at that because I couldn't actually remember the word for your earthly form or your earthly body. I use the word meat suit. Your meat suit, that's all it is. It's just a shell. It's a meat suit. You step out of it. So when you pass over, and you are a free spirit once again. But that spirit does not just vanish. You will go up to the spirit realm, you will take some time to recharge and anything, but you can always come back down and visit the people that are still here. It's that connection, that love that you have with the people that are still here that calls you back, and that's how we're able to communicate with spirit. That is the spirits that come and talk to us. Now, as mediums, we are very, very sensitive to that, and to the spirits. We can feel them around, we can feel their energy, and we are trained to interpret their energy and how to communicate for them. It all works different ways. Most people have heard of clairvoyance. That's something that everyone's heard of. That basically translates as clear vision. That's people that will get a vision in their head. They will get images and they will see the things that spirit is wanting to communicate. We might see a blue door, we might see a key, we might see a watch or something like that, and it's our job to learn how to interpret that to give the messages to the person that the message is for, to give it to the loved ones. Other people are clairsentients, they feel things, like clear sensing. You get people that are clairaudience, they will hear things, they will hear words, they'll hear names, they'll hear bits and pieces. Most of us are generally a mixture of all 3 or 4. There's like 5 clairs. We're all kind of like feel them a little bit. Some of us will smell things, some of us will taste things, some of us will hear things, and all of that is, we bundle it all together and we spend our time learning how to translate that. If you get a message through from a medium that doesn't always make 100% sense, it's not going to be the spirit's fault, it's always going to be our fault, it's always us misinterpreting it. So always say, I don't understand. Spirits are always around. They are always around us, and they are always interested in us, and they are always supporting us, and they're always around. Spirit communication is possible because of that strength of love that we have that keeps the spirit world connected to us. We miss them, we love them, we want to hear from them, and it's that energy. They come down to us, and they come down to our plane, and they take our energy and our love to strengthen them, to give them the strength to communicate with us. It's possible because nothing ever dies and no one ever dies. Not properly. Your energy is always there. I was asked by Neil on Facebook, that moved me into this one, is spiritualism incompatible with the belief in reincarnation? No, it's not at all. So many mediums and people, spiritualists that I know, believe in reincarnation. We quite often do past life regressions and things like that. We always believe in reincarnation. But then I've had people say to me, well, if there's spirits up there and they're talking to us and they are communicating with us via mediums, how are they then moving on and reincarnating? Totally get that. I totally get you that. Time means nothing up there. Time works differently to them. We could have been down here missing them for 20 years and it feels like 10-15 minutes to them. They feel our pain, they understand, but time works differently, and they can move forward and backwards in time, because time is not a straight thing up there, it's up and down. I'm trying to do this as people go away with the notifications. I'm trying to do it as briefly as possible, and I'm trying to explain it as briefly as possible. I will go into that more in detail on another time. Or I'll try and get someone else to come in and explain it, because I've got a friend that could probably explain it a lot better than I could. We believe that all spirits will hang around to protect and look after those that are still on the earth plane. They will be here waiting for us when we cross over. They are here for guidance. They are here to help us and to support and to look after us. And once we've crossed over and we've spent some time with them and we've healed, then they will move on. They will then reincarnate when their immediate family and everyone that they're around here has moved on and passed over as well. Time isn't the same. It could be that because normally there's a good amount of time between reincarnations. Not always. Some people will find 20 years has passed or 15 years has passed and then they've reincarnated. It happens. I was asked by someone on Twitter, what gives you the biggest thrill or satisfaction, and what gives you inspiration? My inspiration is everyday life and everyday problems. Like I said before, my inspiration for most of my books is from my knowledge of mythology and just paganism, Wicca, witchcraft, supernatural beings in general. That's my inspiration for my world and my work. What gives me the biggest thrill? I love writing the end. I love every stage of my book writing process gives me a thrill. When I've written my plot, when I've plotted out, I feel powerful because I've got that story down. I've created another story, another idea. It's there, it's fitting into my world, it's great, it's brilliant. Then I'll start writing it and it's an uphill struggle and you go all the way through it. And once you get past that halfway mark, you're like, yes, I'm halfway, I'm getting there. What I like about the way I plot is I plot very, very extensively, and I like to be able to tick bits off as I go. Tick off each scene, each plot point, each bullet point, all the way through, ticking it off. And each time I tick one off, I get a little bit of a thrill of satisfaction because I feel like I'm getting somewhere. I can feel that I can visually see that I'm making progress. When I've written the story and I've written the end, it's like, whew, fucking hell, I've done it. I've got another one. There's another one done. I've got someone with it. This is awesome. And then I can take a break and write other stuff and do other bits and pieces and catch up on my reading and all sorts of stuff. Then is the editing process. That's a long thing, and it's like, whew, when you're done. But the biggest thrill and satisfaction is actually holding your finished book in your hands. Nothing can compare to that. You have created something literally from nothing. You have made up everything in your head and you have created this baby, and you should be damn proud. That is the biggest thrill for me, and the biggest satisfaction. So thank you for dropping in for my Q&A, and for those of you that are still listening now, oh, well done. I applaud you for it. If you've got any questions that you would like me to answer anytime, I will probably do another one of these in a little while. So if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to ask, and I will do my best to answer them for you. Until then, next time, blessed be, happy writing.